Good morning, guys. This is Alan Rising. This is Saturday. I wanted to share some disturbing news with you on recent news that I have just come across. I know this is the third video that I've talked about general modified organisms, but I want to read this article that I had just received, and so that you can hear for yourself what's actually going on. Thursday, March 28th, 2013. Alternative Health with Dr. Lind by Peter Lind, Washington, D.C., March 28th, 2013. President Barack Obama signed a spending bill, H.R. 933, into law, the Mansanto Protection Act, that strips federal courts of the authority to immediately halt the planting and sale of genetically modified seed crop regardless of any consumer health concerns. The provision would strip federal courts of the authority to halt the sale and planting of illegal, potentially hazardous GE crop while the U.S. Department of Agriculture assesses those potential hazards, explains a letter to the House that has been signed by dozens of food businesses and retailers, as well as interest groups and agencies representing family farmers. Further, it would compel USDA to allow continued planting of that same crop upon request, even if the course of its assessment the department finds that it poses previously unrecognized risks. Why does Monsanto and other GMO companies need this protection? The corollary question is, has there ever been a safe, healthy, non-complicated, genetically modified organism? Genetically engineering is a process of putting genetic material from one species into another in a form that does not exist in nature. In every case of genetic engineered organisms, the product has been less naturally healthy overall than the original host organisms. There may be a single trait that is superior, but the overall health of the organism is less than found in nature. From animals like the sheep dolly, to the flavor savor tomato, to the products you're eating today and don't even know it, there are inherent problems consuming altered DNA. In 1994, Dr. Joseph Cummins, professor of genetics at the University of West Ontario, warned that the inclusion in flavor tomatoes of a genetic sequence from a California mosaic virus could create new viruses. In October 1991, Dr. Edwin Matthews from the Department of Health and Human Services and of the FDA's Toxicology Group wrote to the FDA Biotechnology Working Group saying, genetically modified plants could also contain unexpected high concentrations of plant toxins. Modified proteins, new proteins never before eaten by humanity, exist in GE foods. In 1992, Dr. Lewis of the FDA's Microbiology Group warned that there is a profound difference between the types of expected effects from traditional breeding and genetic engineering. There are many explanations of why genetic engineering becomes faulty, but for starters, here are two. DNA does not always fully break down in the alimentary tract, but bacteria takes up genes and GM plasmids, open the possibility of the spread of antibiotic resistance. Insertion of genes into the genome can also result in unintended effects. Some of the ways that the inserted genes express themselves in the host or the way they affect the functioning of the crop's own genes are unpredictable. This may lead to the development of unknown toxic, allergic components. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, substantial equivalence embodies the concept that if a new food or a food component is found to be substantially equivalent to an existing food or food component, it could be treated in the same manner with respect to safety. Many GM and parental line crops fall short of the definition of substantial equivalence. In any case, this crude, poorly defined, unscientific concept outlived its possible previous usefulness, and we need novel methods and concepts to probe into the compositional, nutritional, toxological, and metabolic difference between GM and conventional crops, into the safety of the genetic techniques used in developing GM crops. If we want to put this technology on a proper scientific foundation and allay the fears of the general public, we need more science, not less. There are processes that are locking the agriculture farmer into a business relationship with the seed producers. Technology protection is how they sell it. Terminator technology makes plants that would produce sterile seeds after one season. This means farmers have to buy more seeds for the next harvest. Trader technology is a trait-specific technology that develops traits which would remain dormant in crops. Farmers could choose to activate this trait by spraying their crops with a proprietary chemical compound. This means they'll have to buy the compound to treat their crops in order to activate it. There are even biochemical companies requiring farmers to sign agreements to not save any or of their seeds for replanting. This means that instead of using the seeds for the next planting season, they have to get rid of them and buy more seeds. Other possible effects might come from the spread of genes from modified plants to unmodified relatives, which might produce species of weeds resistant to herbicides. There are numerous problems with the genetically modified foods you eat. Corn. 2 research studies independently show evidence of allergic reactions to GM BT corn, and farm workers exposed to genetically modified BT sprays exhibited extensive allergic reactions. Potatoes. A study showed genetically modified potatoes expressing cod genes were allergenic. Peas. A decade-long story of GM peas was abandoned when it was discovered that it caused allergic lung damage in mice. Soy. In March 1999, researchers at the York Laboratory discovered that reactions to soy had skyrocketed by 50% over the year before, which corresponded with the introduction of genetically modified soy from the U.S. It was the first time in 17 years that soy was tested in the lab among the top 10 allergenic foods. A 4-year study at the University of Jena in Germany, conducted by Kotz, revealed that bees ingesting pollen from transgenic rapeseed had bacteria in their gut with modified genes. This is called a horizontal gene transfer. Commonly found bacteria and microorganisms in the human help maintain the healthy intestinal flora. These, however, can be mutated. Mutations may also be able to travel internally to other cells, tissue systems, and organs throughout the human body. Not to be underestimated, the potential diminished effect of internal and external genetic pollution can make this substance of science fiction horror movies become terrible realities in the future. The same is true for bacteria that maintains the health of our soil and are vitally necessary for all forms of farming, in fact for human sustenance and survival. It is a well-known fact that fish proteins happen to be among the most hyperallergic while tomatoes are not. Thus, not labeling such genetically modified tomatoes with hidden, alien, or allergenic ingredients is completely unconceivable. The same applies to the typical GMO that has novel bacteria and viral DNA artificially inserted. Supervisors, viruses. Viruses can mix with genes of other viruses and retroviruses such as HIV. This can give rise to more deadly viruses and at rates higher than previously thought. One study shows that gene mixing occurred in viruses in just 8 weeks. This kind of scenario applies to the California mosaic virus, the most common virus used in genetically engineering in Roundup Ready soy of Mansanto, base and GM cotton and canola. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine called on physicians to educate their patients, the medical community, and the public to avoid GM, genetically modified foods when possible, and provide an educational materials concerning GM foods and health risks. They called for a moratorium on GM foods, long-term independent studies, and labeling. AAEM's position paper stated several animal studies indicate serious health risks associated with GM food. GM food, including infertility, immune problems, accelerated aging, insulin regulation, and changes in major organs and gastrointestinal system. They conclude there is more than a causal association between GM foods and adverse health effects. There is as Caucasian as defined by recognized scientific criteria. The strength of association and consistency between GM foods and disease is confirmed in several animal studies. Most countries have banned GMOs, not the U.S. This happens because public unawareness and politics. If you are concerned, ask your grocery store which foods they carry are GM foods. If your plant foods, ask the seed manufacturer which seeds are GMO. Stop purchasing known GM foods. Contact your state and national Congress representatives and voice your concern on this subject. GMOs has never occurred in the history of the world until the past several decades. The time frame is far too short to understand their impact on nature and human health. A little bit more here. Dr. Peter Lynn practices metabolic and neurologic chiropractic in his wellness clinic in Salem, Oregon, USA. He is the author of 3 books on health, 1 novel, and hundreds of wellness articles. His clinical specialty is in physical, nutritional, and emotional stress. Guys, I understand that this is a long video, but there's a reason why I posted this video 3 times now, and trying to get the point out about general modified organisms. If you guys are counting on the government, if you guys are counting on different people or things that you buy to assume that what you're eating is pure and essential for your health, you are mistaken, because there are things being grown in the crops and in the seeds, and even the farmers know that they are very deadly and detrimental to your health. I pray blessings on you. I pray that you will take this consideration as you understand this video, and that you will find ways to grow your health and find ways to look at other alternatives that do not have GMOs, pesticides, fertilizers, or any such things that will ruin your intestines, will ruin your heart, ruin your bloodstream, and any other function in your body, because it can cause serious viral diseases. It will not only affect you, but it will also affect the next generation, your kids, your family members, anyone else who reads this video. I urgently ask you to consider this and take the appropriate steps to do something about it. And once again, this is Alan Rising. You guys have a great weekend, and I will post my web address at the bottom of the screen. Have a nice day. God bless.